Hey folks, Jamie here. Thank you for tuning in. Before we get started, I would like for you to take a moment and go down below and hit the like and subscribe buttons. Maybe leave a comment. If you're really feeling generous, maybe share this video to your social media feeds. What that does is make it a lot easier for other people to find A Moment of Tiki. I really appreciate it and it helps out a lot. Thanks. Now, on with the show. Welcome to another episode of A Moment of Tiki, coming to you from the Lagoon of Mystery, my home tiki bar here in Central Texas. Today, I'm going to talk to you about tiki drinkware. And I'm sure you're thinking, okay, that means tiki mugs, right? Well, yes and no. Tiki mugs are a component of tiki drinkware. And I'm going to discuss them briefly, but there's more to outfitting your bar than just going with the ceramic tiki mugs. First off, there are other YouTube shows out there that really do great deep dives into tiki mugs. If you want to go to Van Tiki's YouTube channel, Heinrich Van Tiki, he does a great Tiki Tuesday series where he shows the process that goes into making his tiki mugs, and he is a fantastic independent creator on Instagram. You can find Oakwash and Lost Idols Company and Coxton and Dunsel, and they all produced really cool making of behind the scenes videos and show you step-by-step process, which is really great, and I always find it fascinating. There is also Tiki with Ray. Tiki with Ray is a YouTube show and a blog, and Ray, who's based in the Pacific Northwest, also has a sub-channel, Tiki Mugs with Ray, in which he and guests explore various mugs that comprise his and his guests' tiki mug collection. So it's really cool, really fun, and I'm not even going to try to duplicate that, but I'm going to give a quick overview of some of my thoughts about tiki mugs. Tiki mugs are ceramic drinking vessels. That's not really debatable. Currently, there's a lot of pop culture mugs being produced, tied in with movies and TV shows, a lot of those that have little or nothing to do with tiki, and I'm not judging that. I don't really care for the aesthetic on a lot of these, but others kind of hit my sweet spot, so I kind of pick and choose which ones I get. I'm going to discuss more of the traditional tiki mug styles. As I mentioned briefly, there are independent creators out there who produce these phenomenal limited edition mugs, and these are essentially collectible pieces of ceramic art. They can cost hundreds of dollars, and most of the time people who purchase these don't use them for everyday drinking. They collect them and save them. And that's one of the things that I like about tiki mugs, is when you travel around and visit tiki mugs from various parts of the country, you get to keep them, purchase them if you choose, and keep them as a souvenir. I got this one from one of the first tiki bars I visited, the Alibi in Portland, Oregon. The Alibi is one of the oldest operating tiki bars in the country, established in 1947, and they had this really cool Moai Marquesan style mug, and I got it, and this is a souvenir of that visit. This past summer, my wife and I did a road trip out west to visit a bunch of tiki bars, and this is one of the mini mugs they had at the Reef Bar in Palm Springs, which is a really fantastic sculpt. And there was no doubt that we had to have this and add it to our collection. Now, I like to break in the mugs and drink from them once I bring them home. But after that, if they have significant meaning to me, then they'll go up on the shelf for display and don't get used very often. One of the fun things about collecting tiki mugs is that you can get a connection to the past. For example, this Moai mug is from the Kahiki, the fantastic tiki palace in Columbus, Ohio, that has been closed now for more than 2 decades. So finding this thrifting in the wild was a big thrill for me, and I was very happy to add it to my collection. This is not from any particular tiki bar. This is a cheap ceramic import coconut mug produced in China, fairly inexpensive, and when I have guests over, guests want the tiki experience. This is one of several mugs that I will serve them tiki cocktails in. I've had breakage, slips and spills and drops and breaks and cracks and crumbles and protestations and apologies and all sorts of other things. If you have a tiki mug that is going to be accidentally broken by yourself or others, and that's happened with me, you want it to be something that's easily replaced and not irreplaceable. So my advice is to add to your collection what you want to collect, and then add to your collection of what you want to drink from. And there can be some overlap, but always have cheap mass-produced tiki mugs on hand that you will not lose sleep over if they get broken, because sooner or later something's going to get broken. And that's all I have to say right now on the subject of tiki mugs. Another type of glassware no home tiki bar should be without are Mai Tai glasses and zombie glasses. Mai Tai glasses are also called double old-fashioned glasses because that's what they are. They're about twice the size of the traditional glass used for the old-fashioned cocktail. Now, many bars will contract with local artists to do designs for their Mai Tai glasses and their zombie glasses, which, zombies are served in. These are often much less expensive for the bars to produce because the glasses are standardized. It's just the screened prints on all of them that are changed out. So they can be mass produced much more economically, and therefore they're a lot simpler and cheaper for you to get if you want to have a souvenir. Okay, this is one of my absolute favorites. Siesta Ware glasses. And if you hang around tiki or mid-century modern or any of those type of circles, any amount of time, you're going to come across these. Siesta Ware was started by Brenner Glass Company based out of Jacksonville, Florida, starting in 1963. They produced some of the most distinctive glasses, cocktail glasses of the era. Brightly colored, multicolored, kind of a Collins glass, but it has this fluted design. Really cool, and they have the distinctive mahogany wrap around them with imprinted tropical designs, outriggers and drums and spears and fishes. They're really cool. In addition to these upright Collins style glasses, they also did a number of mugs with some of the same motif, wooden handles, and they did a whole lot of specialty productions, limited runs, contract work. This right here I came across in a thrift store. It's for Norwegian Cruise Lines, Farewell to the Islands, a souvenir drink from Sun Viking, Nordic Prince, and what's the other one? Song of Norway, the 3 ships in their cruise line back at the time, and it has the mahogany wrap as well. I grew up seeing Siesta Ware, and I didn't realize it had all this tropical and tiki connotations with these dark amber barrel mugs. Many of them have a Western motif on it. So me growing up in rural Texas, I saw the Western style cowboys and spurs and wagon wheels and things like that quite often. And I was always kind of fascinated with them because they had the wooden handle. This is a souvenir that was produced by Siesta Ware for Ciarama Marine World in Galveston, Texas, which if you've never heard of it, it was at one point in the 60s and 70s, probably one of the largest tourist attractions in the state. It was a miniature SeaWorld. They didn't have orcas, but they had dolphin shows and seals and some amusement park rides and things like that. And so I came across this in a thrift store some years ago, and I absolutely had to have it. I had no idea Siesta Ware made these, but they're a lot of fun. And almost any time I come across these in an estate sale or a garage sale or a thrift store, my heart kind of skips a beat, because these were some of the first tiki drinkware vessels that I came across, and I got most of my first ones at an estate sale. I've since learned, discovering more about this as we go along, that these are often found, but not found in very good condition because of the distinctive mahogany bands. They can't be machine washed. If you put them through the dishwasher, that wood is not going to last very long. You're going to lose that imprinted design, the heat and the moisture, soap, and it's going to cause the mahogany bands to expand and contract and start cracking and splitting and coming apart. So these are hand wash only, and the wood needs to be oiled on occasion, either beeswax or mineral spirits or tongue oil, or any of those types of oils. Howard's feed and wax will work good, just to keep the wood in a supple, like new condition, and they'll last you a lifetime. And they're a lot of fun, bright and colorful, and lighten up any tiki bar. And they always make me happy when I come across them. Tiki culture owes a lot to the Philippines. So much so to the Philippines. In addition, there were the bartenders, the original Filipino bartenders working for Don the Beachcomber, that created so many of the tiki cocktail classics that we have, but also carvers, wood carvers in the Philippines produced so much amazing work. This Lazy Susan punch bowl set is one prime example. I got this at an estate sale some years ago. It's one of the first really big, cool tiki purchases I was able to add to my collection. And these goblets are just amazing. They have this individually hand-carved ring around the middle that shows little tropical scenes with mountains and trees and huts and other such like this. And so for parties, I put punch in the bowl with the ladle, and people are able to serve themselves. And it's a really impressive presentation with the rotating Lazy Susan here and the punch bowl and everything else. Because it's natural wood, again, it can't be run through the dishwasher, otherwise you're going to ruin it in short order. And also I recommend sealing it with a type of oil. Tongue oil is recommended. Tongue oil is, if you have 100% pure tongue oil, it is food safe. It is a drying oil, so that means it not only penetrates the wood, but it also forms a hard film on the exterior, so it prevents water from penetrating the wood. It protects the wood from the inside as well as the outside, and that's a good thing to remember, because this is a natural wood product, and the oil itself will wear off with use over time, so it needs to be reapplied periodically to ensure the continued longevity of this. Philippine carvers made a whole lot of other stuff other than this. In this particular style, this is the goblet. I have seen really large goblets, the size of scorpion bowls. I've seen these in tumblers without the foot on there. I've also seen teacups carved with these same motifs with the little tray on the bottom. So there's a wide range of these monekypod drinking vessels, and also plates and dishes and other bowls. In the 50s and the 60s into the 70s, we imported an incredible amount of this type of hand-carved work from the Philippines, and that's where the majority of the peacock chairs came from as well. So Filipino artisans were creating a lot of what we view as tiki culture. And this right here, this is a mug made from monekypod, and it is clearly in the design of the Hawaiian Islands. And so a lot of these souvenirs that you find from the Hawaiian Islands originated in the Philippines. And these are really neat to have on hand, especially if you're going to be serving hot drinks, such as hot buttered rum and those types. It's really nice to have the handle. Sometimes people get hung up in debates and arguments on whether something is authentic tiki or not. My opinion, I say if it enhances the aesthetic in your bar, if it adds to it, if it improves it, then by all means consider it tiki. For example, these bamboo cups. During COVID, I found them on a Craigslist ad. Some of the greatest finds I've added to my tiki bar came from Craigslist ads. It was a woman whose mother had these from the 50s or 60s and passed away, and she inherited them. These are sumi-e bamboo cups. They are made from bamboo, cut at the nodes, so they're solid cups. They are polished, they are lacquered, and they have sumi-e painting on there. Sumi-e is a style of painting that originated in China using generally monochrome black ink. It was introduced by Buddhist monks to Japan in the 14th century, and it was refined in Japan to the specific art form we see here. Only black ink is used, and a single stroke is allowed for each element in the painting. So this long stroke here, long stroke, these are all single strokes, and the ink is wetted down and allowed to bleed to give different shades. So you go from black to gray, and it's all the same ink, it's just diluted, and it's amazing. These are astonishing. I mean, they're just gorgeous. I saw these and fell in love with them and knew that I had to give them a home. As a natural product, this is bamboo, and this is ink painted on there. So again, they can't be run through the dishwasher. These have to be hand washed. They were also lacquered at one time, and over the 5-6 decades since they were new, the finish has failed. And so again, the way I deal with this, I apply a coat of 100% tung oil to these and let it dry, and that way it penetrates to protect on the inside and also forms a hard film on the outside. But these are just spectacular. Now, I'm under no illusions that these are considered high art in Japan. From what I understand, those artists who are just starting out learning sumi often focus on bamboo to begin with, because there's a lot of straight lines and they can practice making the tapered lines for the leaves. And so this is like a beginner's art form that landscapes and other much more complex subjects are what the true masters are. And these date from the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, post-war Japan. So I imagine they were a cheap export that Japanese artisans and craftspeople could produce very quickly, very rapidly, with minimal investment to gain hard currency as the Japanese economy recovered from the devastation of World War II. Bamboo grows rampant around Japan, so I can imagine that most Japanese would be drinking out of bamboo vessels to begin with. So it was a small step to make the leap to adding sumi art to these, lacquering them and selling them to Western audiences, which in the 50s and 60s, with Polynesian and Asian and Exotica all the rage, would have found a ready audience. Now, this is the only set I have actually encountered. I have looked online, and they're not terribly uncommon. But, I mean, my goodness, break these out at a party. Make yourself, you know, a bamboo cocktail in a bamboo cocktail glass, or, you know, a missionary's downfall or something. These are fantastic. These are like the perfect size for entertaining guests. And I guarantee you bring these out, they're going to catch some attention. And your guests will remember that you served them in vintage drinkware that is not duplicated anywhere. And this is just scratching the surface. I have no idea how much else is out there as far as tiki drinkware goes that I haven't discovered yet. You know, I've only been involved in tiki since, 2017, the beginning of 2017. So that's 5-6 years now. And this is just scratching the surface. I'm sure there's a lot more out there that I have yet to discover. And if you know of something that you think I should know about, please drop me a line. Let me know what other wonders are out there to discover, to add to my tiki collection, to enhance the sense of immersion, the sense of escapism, just the exotic getaway that I am crafting and creating and maintaining and curating here in my tiki environs. And you get out there and you look and you find yourself something too, and make your tiki space as distinctive and your own as you possibly can. Until next time, we're doing this mystery. Aloha.